Officer Bradley, effective immediately, you're on administrative leave pending compliance with department grooming standards. Lieutenant Sarah Hoffman stood in the doorway of the police precinct's locker room, her expression carefully neutral. Behind her, Captain Rodriguez watched from his office. Tom Bradley looked up from lacing his duty boots. He'd been a patrol officer with the Oakland Police Department for 11 years. 11 years of clean service. 11 years of community trust. 11 years without a single disciplinary issue. Until he converted to Islam 6 months ago. Until he grew a beard 2 months ago. Lieutenant, we talked about this last month. I filed for religious accommodation. I'm protected under EEOC guidelines and California law. Your accommodation request was denied. Department policy is clear. Officers must be clean-shaven or maintain facial hair no longer than 1/4 inch. Your beard exceeds that standard. Tom touched his beard, about 1 inch long, neatly trimmed, professionally groomed. The policy allows for religious exemptions. I'm requesting that exemption. The exemption was denied because of operational necessity. Respiratory equipment must seal properly. Your beard prevents proper fit. Have you ever been told your faith makes you unfit to serve? Tom Bradley was 35 years old, a white guy from Oakland who'd grown up in a police family. His father had been a cop, his uncle had been a cop, his grandfather had been a cop. Law enforcement was in his blood. He joined the force at 24, right out of college. He'd worked patrol, done community outreach, trained new officers. He'd been decorated twice for bravery. He'd been nominated for Officer of the Year. Then, 2 years ago, he'd started dating Sarah Hassan, a social worker he'd met during a domestic violence call. Sarah was Muslim, second-generation Lebanese American. They'd talked about faith, about life, about meaning. Tom had found something in Islam that resonated with him. The discipline, the social justice emphasis, the direct connection to God. He'd converted 18 months ago, married Sarah 6 months later, started growing a beard 2 months ago, a sunnah practice encouraged for Muslim men. And now his department was telling him to choose, shave or resign. Lieutenant, I've worn respiratory equipment with this beard. It seals fine. I can prove it. The fire department's fit testing standards don't allow beards. That's non-negotiable. But Sikh officers are allowed to wear beards with respiratory accommodations. Jewish officers with religious beards get exemptions. Why am I different? Lieutenant Hoffman's expression hardened. Officer Bradley, I'm not debating policy with you. You have 48 hours to comply or your administrative leave becomes unpaid suspension. After 30 days of non-compliance, termination proceedings begin. She walked away. Tom sat in the locker room, staring at his locker, his nameplate, his badge, his 11 years of service, all potentially ending because of 2 inches of facial hair. But what the Oakland Police Department didn't know was that Tom Bradley had a union, and that union was about to go to war. Tom sat across from Marcus Webb, president of the Oakland Police Officers Association. Marcus was a black officer with 28 years on the force. He'd seen every kind of departmental discrimination there was. They denied your religious accommodation? Marcus asked, reading through Tom's paperwork. Said it's an operational necessity. Respiratory equipment won't seal properly with a beard? Marcus leaned back, thinking, that's interesting, because we have 3 Sikh officers with beards, 2 Jewish officers with beards, all approved for religious accommodation, all wearing the same respiratory equipment you'd wear. Exactly. So why is my religious beard different? Because you're a convert, Marcus said bluntly. Because you're white and Muslim, which makes people uncomfortable. Because Islam scares people in ways Sikhism and Judaism don't, even though all 3 religions have similar beard practices. He pulled out a thick file. Tom, we've been tracking this. Since you converted, you've had 6 random drug tests, 3 times the department average. You've been reassigned from community outreach to night patrol. You've been passed over for a promotion you should have gotten. I didn't realize it was a pattern. That's because discrimination is rarely one big action. It's 100 small actions that add up. The beard denial is just the most obvious one. Marcus opened his laptop. Here's what we're going to do. We're filing a grievance under the collective bargaining agreement, we're filing an EEOC complaint for religious discrimination, and we're calling a vote of no confidence in Captain Rodriguez. A vote of no confidence? That's serious. So is forcing an officer to choose between his badge and his faith. We're not letting this stand. You won't believe what happened when the union went public. 3 days later, the Oakland Police Officers Association held a press conference outside City Hall. 23 officers stood behind Marcus Webb in uniform, a show of solidarity for Tom Bradley. The local media was there. National media had picked up the story. White police officer forced to choose, badge or beard, was already trending. Marcus spoke first. Tom Bradley is an 11-year veteran of the Oakland Police Department. Decorated officer, clean record, community favorite. He's being forced out because he converted to Islam and grew a beard. He gestured to the officers behind him. These 23 officers represent our union's executive board. We stand with Officer Bradley. His religious freedom isn't negotiable. His right to practice Islam while serving his community isn't up for debate. A reporter asked, "But doesn't department policy prohibit beards for safety reasons?" Department policy allows religious exemptions. We have Sikh officers with beards, Jewish officers with beards, but a Muslim convert officer denied. That's not safety policy, that's discrimination. Another reporter, "What about respiratory equipment? The fire department says beards prevent proper seal." Marcus pulled out documentation. Modern SCBA equipment accommodates religious beards. The fire department in Phoenix allows them. Seattle allows them. Toronto allows them. The Oakland Police Department is using outdated standards to justify religious discrimination. Tom stepped forward. His beard was neatly trimmed, professional. He looked every bit the police officer he was, except for the facial hair. "I didn't convert to Islam to make a statement," Tom said, his voice steady. "I converted because I found truth in the faith. Growing a beard is part of my religious practice. It doesn't affect my ability to serve. It doesn't affect my equipment. It doesn't affect my commitment to this community." He pulled out his badge. "This badge represents service. It represents protection. It represents equality. How can I protect religious freedom in Oakland if my own department won't protect mine?" The press conference went viral. Within hours, #LetTomServe was trending. Civil rights organizations issued statements. Muslim advocacy groups mobilized. And the Oakland City Council started asking questions. The next day, something unexpected happened. The Oakland Muslim community, usually cautious about engaging with police, rallied for Tom. Imam Hassan, from the Islamic Center of Oakland, held a press conference. "Officer Bradley has been a bridge between our community and law enforcement. When he converted, he didn't hide it. He embraced Islam openly. He attended our mosque. He brought other officers to interfaith events. He's proof that Muslim and police officer aren't contradictions, that serving the community and practicing Islam are complementary, not conflicting." But the most powerful support came from an unexpected source: the families Tom had helped during his 11 years. Angela Martinez, whose son Tom had mentored through a youth program, spoke to local news. "Officer Bradley saved my son's life, got him out of a gang, got him into college. Now the city wants to fire him for having a beard? That's insane. David Wong, whose domestic violence case Tom had handled with sensitivity, appeared at a city council meeting. Officer Bradley responded when my wife was being hurt. He was professional, compassionate, thorough. He's one of the good ones. Don't let him go over something as stupid as facial hair. Even the Oakland Sikh community weighed in. Harpreet Singh, a community leader, issued a statement. "We fought for religious accommodation for our officers who wear turbans and beards. We won't stay silent while a Muslim officer faces the same discrimination we fought against." The coalition was unprecedented. Muslim community, Sikh community, Latino community, Asian community, Black community, all defending a white police officer's right to practice Islam. Because they understood, if Tom Bradley could be forced out for a religious beard, any officer could be forced out for any religious practice. While public pressure mounted, Tom's attorney, Jennifer Park from the ACLU, filed a formal EEOC complaint. The complaint was devastating in its detail. Evidence of disparate treatment. 3 Sikh officers with beards, longer than Tom's, all accommodated. 2 Jewish officers with religious beards, both accommodated. 1 Muslim officer, Tom Bradley, with beard, denied.
Evidence of retaliation. 6 random drug tests in 6 months, 300% above department average. Reassignment from day shift community outreach to night patrol. Passed over for sergeant promotion despite qualifications. Administrative leave immediately after accommodation request. Evidence of pretext. Department claims respiratory equipment won't seal, but allows beards for Sikh officers using the same equipment. Modern SCBA systems accommodate religious beards. No documented safety incidents with accommodated beards. Jennifer's legal strategy was surgical. We're not asking for special treatment, we're asking for equal treatment. If Sikh and Jewish officers can wear religious beards, so can Muslim officers. The law is crystal clear. She filed a second action, a Title VII lawsuit in federal court, seeking immediate reinstatement with accommodation, back pay for lost wages, policy reform requiring equal religious accommodation, training on religious discrimination, and compensatory damages. The Oakland City Attorney's Office received the lawsuit on a Friday afternoon. By Monday morning, they were in crisis mode. The Oakland Police Department tried to defend its position. Captain Rodriguez issued a statement. Officer Bradley's accommodation was denied based on legitimate safety concerns. Respiratory protection equipment used in chemical incidents, fires, and hazardous material situations requires a proper seal. Facial hair prevents that seal. This isn't about religion, it's about safety. But Jennifer Park was ready. She'd done her research. She filed documents showing Phoenix Fire Department's beard accommodation policy allows religious beards with hood-style SCBA. Seattle Police Department's policy allows beards up to 2 inches with proper equipment. Toronto Police Service policy accommodates religious beards with specialized masks. Federal OSHA guidelines recognize religious accommodations are possible with proper equipment. She also filed expert testimony from Dr. Sarah Chen, an occupational safety specialist. Modern SCBA systems, particularly hood-style respirators, can accommodate beards while maintaining OSHA-compliant seal standards. The claim that beards categorically prevent respiratory protection is outdated and contradicted by current safety science. The department's safety argument collapsed under scrutiny. Then Jennifer played her trump card. She released internal emails obtained through discovery. Email 1. Captain Rodriguez to Lieutenant Hoffman. Bradley's beard thing is getting out of hand. Find a policy reason to shut it down. We can't have Muslim officers looking like terrorists. Email 2. Lieutenant Hoffman to Captain Rodriguez. Legal says we have to accommodate religious beards like we do for Sikhs. Should I approve Bradley's request? Email 3. Captain Rodriguez to Lieutenant Hoffman. Deny it. Say it's safety related. He's a convert. That's not the same as being born into religion. If he pushes back, we'll make his life difficult until he quits. The emails were damning. Not just discrimination, premeditated discrimination with explicitly anti-Muslim bias. The story broke on Wednesday. By Thursday, the Oakland City Council was holding emergency meetings. By Friday, Captain Rodriguez was placed on administrative leave. The following Monday, Tom sat in a conference room with Jennifer Park, Union President Marcus Webb, and representatives from the Oakland City Attorney's Office. The city's lead attorney, Michael Stevens, looked tired. "We're prepared to offer a settlement." "We're listening," Jennifer said. "Immediate reinstatement with full religious accommodation, back pay for the administrative leave period, $125,000 compensatory damages, mandatory retraining for all supervisory staff on religious discrimination." "Not enough," Jennifer replied calmly. "What else do you want?" "Policy reform, not just for Tom, for every officer. Comprehensive religious accommodation policy that treats all faiths equally. Independent oversight for accommodation requests. And Captain Rodriguez's termination." Stevens winced. "We can do the policy reform and oversight. Rodriguez is already facing disciplinary proceedings, but we can't guarantee termination. That's a personnel matter."
"Then guarantee he never supervises another officer's accommodation request," Tom said, speaking for the first time, "and guarantee that any officer who retaliates against me or any other officer for religious practice faces immediate discipline." Stevens consulted with his colleagues. "We can do that." "One more thing," Marcus added. "Public apology, not a corporate statement, a real apology from the chief of police acknowledging what happened and committing to change." Stevens nodded slowly. "I think we can arrange that." 3 days later, Oakland Police Chief Angela Washington stood at a press conference, flanked by Tom Bradley, Imam Hassan, Harpreet Singh from the Sikh community, and Rabbi David Goldstein. "Today, I'm here to apologize," Chief Washington said, her voice firm but remorseful. "Tom Bradley is an exemplary officer who was subjected to religious discrimination by members of this department. That's unacceptable. It violates our values, it violates the law, and it ends today." She outlined the new policy. Oakland Police Department Religious Accommodation Policy. 1. All religious practices receive equal consideration. 2. Beards worn for religious reasons accommodated up to 2 inches with proper equipment. 3. Religious head coverings accommodated. Hijabs, turbans, yarmulkes, etc. 4. Independent review board for accommodation requests. This includes community faith leaders. 5. Mandatory annual training on religious diversity for all officers. 6. Zero tolerance policy for retaliation or discrimination. Officer Bradley's treatment was wrong, but his courage in standing up for his rights will benefit every officer in this department. We're better because of his fight. Tom stepped forward, still in uniform, beard neatly trimmed. "I didn't want to be an activist. I just wanted to be a Muslim and a police officer. But I learned that sometimes you have to fight for the right to be both." He looked at the camera. "To other Muslim officers facing similar situations, document everything. Know your rights. Find allies. Don't back down. The law is on your side." Oakland's new policy became a model. Within 6 months, Los Angeles Police Department adopted similar accommodations. San Francisco Police Department revised its policies. The California Peace Officers Association issued statewide guidance, and federal law enforcement agencies, FBI, ATF, DEA, updated their policies. Tom returned to patrol, now assigned to the community outreach unit he'd been removed from. His beard had become almost unremarkable, just another part of who he was. But the real change was cultural. The Oakland Police Department began actively recruiting Muslim officers. Having visible Muslim representation, officers who looked Muslim, sounded Muslim, and practiced openly built trust with communities that had historically distrusted police. Tom mentored 3 new Muslim recruits. 2 were South Asian, 1 was black. All wore beards openly from day 1. "You made this possible," one told him. "Before you, I didn't think I could be a cop and keep my beard. You showed me I don't have to choose." 2 years after his administrative leave, Tom Bradley was promoted to sergeant. The ceremony was held at the Islamic Center of Oakland, a deliberate choice by Chief Washington to show the department's commitment to inclusion. Sergeant Bradley represents what we want this department to be: diverse, inclusive, respectful of all faiths and backgrounds. He fought for his rights, and in doing so, strengthened all of our rights. Tom's father, a retired police officer who had initially struggled with his son's conversion, stood in the audience. He'd come to understand that Islam hadn't changed Tom's commitment to service, it had deepened it. "I'm proud of you, son. Not just for being a good cop, for being a brave one." Sarah, Tom's wife, was there with their 1-year-old daughter, Amina. Raising a Muslim child in a police family would have its challenges, but at least Tom had fought to make sure Amina would grow up in a world where Muslims could serve openly. 5 years after Tom's case, the landscape of American law enforcement had shifted. Policy changes nationwide. 47 police departments adopted Oakland's model. FBI revised grooming standards to allow religious beards. Department of Justice issued guidance on religious accommodation in law enforcement. Police training academies added modules on religious diversity. Cultural shift. Muslim officers no longer had to hide their faith. Departments actively recruited from Muslim communities. Visible Muslim officers improved community relations. The Bradley Standard became shorthand for equal religious accommodation.
But Tom's favorite outcome was personal. A national organization, Muslims in Law Enforcement, used his case in recruitment materials. "You can be Muslim and serve," their materials said, showing Tom's photo in uniform with his beard. "You don't have to choose." Tom spoke at police academies across the country, always delivering the same message. "I didn't ask to be a test case. I just wanted to do my job and practice my faith. But when the system forces you to choose, you have to fight back. Not with anger, with documentation, legal action, community support, and the courage to stand firm." Religious freedom in law enforcement isn't optional. It's not a privilege. It's a right. And if anyone tells you different, they're wrong, and the law will prove it. Tom Bradley's case created legal precedent used in religious accommodation cases across multiple sectors. Legal impact. Cited in 34 federal court cases on religious accommodation in employment. Used by EEOC in enforcement actions against discriminatory grooming policies. Referenced in Department of Justice guidance on religious freedom. Taught in police academy legal training programs. Law enforcement impact. 127 Muslim officers hired by departments with new accommodation policies. Dramatic improvement in police-Muslim community relations in Oakland. 72% increase in positive interactions. Reduction in discrimination complaints at departments with strong accommodation policies. Increased diversity in law enforcement nationwide. Cultural impact. Normalized visible Muslim presence in law enforcement. Challenged stereotypes about Muslims and public safety. Demonstrated that religious practice and professional service aren't contradictory. Showed that converts have equal rights to born Muslims. But the impact Tom valued most was simple. Muslim kids in Oakland now saw police officers who looked like their fathers, their brothers, themselves. They saw that serving the community and practicing Islam weren't contradictions. They were complementary. Officer Tom Bradley, badge number 2847, 11 years of service plus the years after his fight, proved something important. You don't have to choose between your faith and your calling. You can be both. You can serve both God and community. All you need is courage,
documentation, and the willingness to fight when the system says you have to choose. Tom's story wasn't just about one police officer keeping his beard. It was about whether Muslims could serve in positions of authority, police, military, government, without hiding who they were. For too long, Muslim officers faced an impossible choice: assimilate completely or face career limitations. Shave your beard, hide your prayer times, don't make your faith visible. Tom Bradley chose differently. He chose to be fully Muslim and fully a police officer. When the department said that was impossible, he proved them wrong. Not through confrontation, through law, through union solidarity, through community support, through the courage to document discrimination and the persistence to fight it legally. His union had his back, his community rallied for him, the courts ruled in his favor, the policy changed, and now every Muslim officer in America benefits from his fight. That's how one white convert police officer with a 1-inch beard changed law enforcement across the country. Are you in law enforcement or military facing religious discrimination? Have you been told to choose between your badge and your beliefs? Tom's lesson: document everything. Know your rights. Your union matters. EEOC protections are real. Religious accommodation is the law, not a favor. Share this if you believe Muslims can serve in law enforcement without hiding their faith.